Hello, my name is Fergus Harradence and I'm the Deputy Director for Infrastructure and Construction in the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. Today, I will be talking you through the government's strategy for delivering net zero carbon in the built environment. Construction, including contracting, product manufacturing and associated professional services, is enormously economically significant in the UK and accounts for around about 9% of GDP and employment operating across the country. Investment in construction also generates significant wider economic benefits. We estimate that £1 invested in construction delivers a return of nearly 3 to 1 through the economic activity that it stimulates. So as the UK emerges from the COVID-19 pandemic, the challenge is how to maximise its potential to drive economic growth, but to ensure that this is sustainable and supports the transition to net zero carbon. The built environment is a significant contributor to UK carbon emissions. It emits around 40% of UK emissions annually, or over 300 million metric tonnes of carbon dioxide each year. This is a combination of embodied carbon, mainly in the materials used in new construction, which accounts for around 48 million metric tonnes of emissions each year, but also through the operational carbon as buildings and other infrastructure assets are used. Carbon emissions linked to the operation of buildings, heating, lighting, and the energy used by appliances and devices account for around 200 million metric tonnes of carbon emissions, nearly 60% of the total from the built environment. It also contributes to other emissions, so road and rail linked emissions, which are a consequence of these being built by the construction industry, account for around 15% of all UK carbon emissions. So put simply, the UK cannot decarbonise without a radical transformation of the way in which we design, construct and operate buildings and infrastructure. The UK Climate Change Committee has set a clear pathway to decarbonisation through its carbon budgets, most recently the 6th. This trajectory will be implemented through legislation, which will require the UK to reduce emissions from a 1990 baseline by 68% in 2030 and 78% by 2035, achieving net zero carbon by 2050. Delivering this is a huge task. It requires changing the way we heat our homes, operate buildings and infrastructure, how we travel, and shifting the attitudes and behaviours of users and consumers. It also requires a shift to the use of less and more sustainable materials through better design, innovation, and the adoption of industrialised processes to minimise waste. Finally, it requires us to decarbonise energy-intensive industries through the creation of a hydrogen-based economy and through the use of technologies such as carbon capture and storage. What this means for construction is a radical transformation in prospect. The future will be digitally designed and industrialised for both new buildings and infrastructure. Previous structure of the industry, where each asset is individually designed with the design process separated from construction, and where delivery is reliant on a complex, vertically integrated supply chain based on subcontracting, is going to change. The future will see the use of digital design and standard components, as exemplified by the Highways England digital product catalogue, which is accelerating the delivery of road-related infrastructure. These component parts will be manufactured on site and assembled on site. So supply chains are likely to get shorter as activity on site reduces. They will involve fewer firms, and these firms will create value through designing and supplying products rather than supplying labour. Government is working in partnership with the industry to realise this vision through the Transforming Construction Challenge. This is targeting reducing the time taken to deliver buildings and the lifetime carbon emissions of those built assets by 50%. And the Transforming Construction Challenge will invest a combined £420 million of government and private sector money to develop and commercialise new technologies linked to these objectives. This funding is being invested in 2 centres: the Construction Innovation Hub, which is developing digital and off-site manufacturing technologies, and the Active Building Centre in Swansea, which is developing energy generation and storage technologies that can be incorporated into the fabric of buildings and infrastructure, with the aim of making them self-sufficient for energy and heat. In addition, we're supporting over 50 R&D demonstration projects covering technologies such as real-time cost and carbon estimation, autonomous plant and machinery, artificial intelligence applications to improve scheduling, and digital technologies to improve supply chain operations. We've also supported a number of academic research projects, which have looked at future industry business models, the adoption of robotics, and also looked at how we can reimagine the built environment and how it functions. For example, how we can make car parks renewable electricity generation and storage facilities and the hubs of new electric vehicle charging networks. Finally, we've also supported the development of a value toolkit and the construction playbook to enable the industry to define value and better manage construction procurement and project delivery. This slide shows some examples of these projects: a digital platform for supply chain management that will drive efficiency through better planning, the use of virtual and augmented reality in a factory environment to improve quality control, and a product platform-based approach to construction, which will significantly increase productivity and minimise waste. The key point about all of these projects is that they will drive both industry productivity and profitability, and also improve its sustainability through improving process efficiency, reducing materials use and waste, and the amount of energy that the industry consumes. Finally, it is important to recognise that transformation can only be achieved if we change the way in which the industry and its clients interact with the culture within the industry. The construction playbook sets out a vision for this, based on 14 policy areas where we are seeking change, and through which we want to reset the relationship between government and the industry to make this more strategic and less transactional. At the centre of this is the principle that the industry should be fairly remunerated for the work that it does and should be able to make a fair margin of profit, recognising that we can't expect the industry to invest in improvement on margins of 1 to 2%. These proposals include the publication of product pipelines and greater and earlier supply chain involvement with firms throughout the entire supply chain, including product and material suppliers. It also means working to identify the most appropriate delivery model for projects, ensuring fair contractual and payment terms, and a better approach to risk management based on the principle that the organisation within the supply chain that's best placed to bear the risk should be the one that does so. But we also want to ensure that government procurement supports the industry to modernise through encouraging the use of digital and off-site manufacturing technologies, embedding better supply chain management tools and practices, and focusing on driving innovation to improve the quality and sustainability of built assets. The how is as important as the what. We want the projects we support to deliver the highest level of economic, social, and environmental value, which includes investment in skills development and reducing carbon emissions and waste. There is a huge challenge for the industry over this decade to both drive growth whilst decarbonising, but there is a clear pathway to delivering these objectives. We have the targets, and we are developing the technologies and approaches to the challenge. Thank you for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.